In the Western world, since the Second World War, we have watched other countries in continents such as Africa and Asia deal with unfathomable magnitudes of loss, grief and suffering. These faraway, war-torn, disaster-struck places have seemed remote and in many ways for us impossible to fully empathise with. For about 75 years we have clung to the idea that these disastrous things happen elsewhere and not to us. However, at the time of making this short video, grim reports of loss, grief and suffering in many Western countries, especially in the countries of Italy and Spain, are making headline news. Not since the Second World War have we faced the prospect of loss on such a scale. We are in the process of being shaken. 2,000 years ago, another body of people was being shaken, albeit for very different reasons. This Sunday is Palm Sunday, when we remember Jesus' triumphal entry into the city of Jerusalem. The joyous acclamation of the crowds as Jesus came into the city were quickly replaced with not only indifference but also hostility. Consequently, the city, we are told in Matthew chapter 21 verse 10, which is in our gospel reading for today, was shaken. Even though the residents of Jerusalem in our reading were more accustomed to grief and suffering than we are in the Western world, nevertheless, the reaction to Christ's coming caused not only hope in that Jesus might do something to relieve the oppression of the Romans, but also much tension and conflict. As a result of this, we are told that the citizens of Jerusalem were stirred and shaken. The causes for our shakenness and the citizens of Jerusalem, however, just couldn't be more different. Our enemy at present in this pandemic is about 0.5 micrometers, whereas the cause for the shakenness 2,000 years ago in Jerusalem was the person of Jesus. How we deal at present with the coronavirus causing COVID-19 is a subject of much scientific and political discussion. 2 millennia ago, the cause of conflict in Jerusalem caused similar political discussions, and these discussions revolved around who Jesus was. In the latter half of verse 10 in our Gospel reading, we read, "The whole city was shaken, saying, 'Who is this?'" Not a lot has changed since those tumultuous days in Jerusalem 2,000 years ago. Even though people might not be asking the question, "Who is Jesus?" many are asking what the relevance of faith is, particularly during these days when our lives are being shaken. The relevance of faith as far as Christianity is concerned pivots around the person of Jesus. Who was he? Or even, who is he? What a person says about himself or herself reveals much about their identity. Jesus said, rather pertinent in these dark days, that he is the light of the world. We rather take it for granted that Jesus made this claim for himself without really thinking what it means. The Christian apologist C.S. Lewis observed that for Jesus to make this kind of claim, he must be either mad, bad, or God. There is a certain logic to this. A bad person may say, "I am the light of the world," because he has lost a grip on reality. A bad person may say, "I am the light of the world," because he wants to exercise malign power over gullible people. However, no sane and balanced person would say, "I am the light of the world," because it is a ridiculous claim to make. C.S. Lewis was trying to make people face up to the person of Jesus with some honesty and integrity. It is no good saying, "He was just a good man with a clever sleight of hand in magic," because no good person would lead people astray as such. Undoubtedly our lives have been shaken to the core. When and how will our lives change after this pandemic are valid questions which many are asking. After a period of darkness, we instinctively shy away from it. When someone suddenly turns on the bedroom lights on a dark winter's morning before we are ready for it, then the sensation is sometimes painful and even bewildering. It is quite misleading to suggest that choosing to believe is a leap in the dark, for it is really a leap into the light. This light may be challenging, but as we adjust, its presence feels warm, welcoming, and more powerful than all the darkness in the world. When one looks up into the sky on a clear night, at first it seems there is nothing there. Soon, though, one begins to see stars emerging. After a few minutes, one isn't thinking how dark and gloomy the sky is. One's breath is taken away at how beautiful it seems when pierced by 1,000 points of starlight. In the midst of our shakenness, may we discover that Jesus really is the light of the world. Amen.